Hello. Are you like me? Have you also passed your Network Plus and have no idea what to do with it? If so, just follow along with this tutorial and we're going to do a very mini project. So, as I stated, I finished my Network Plus, but I don't have any actual experience setting up networks or playing in the command line when it comes to routers and ARP and all that stuff. So, the purpose of this today is to create a very basic network that's going to consist of two PCs. So in this case, I have Ubuntu 1 and Ubuntu 2. And these PCs, we're going to put them on two different subnets, and we're going to connect those together through this makeshift router we have here, which is another virtual machine that we spun up. So you're going to need three virtual machines in order to get started with this. So let's do it now. Okay. I have chosen to use VM Player for whatever reason on this version of Windows. VirtualBox does not work well. It keeps crashing out. So VMware works pretty well. We're going to create a virtual machine. I'm just going to show you how it's done on VMware. It's a bit different on VirtualBox, but here we go. As I stated, just get any flavor of Linux you want. Doesn't really matter. I just chose Ubuntu. You can choose whatever you want. You want the smaller ones, you can choose the smaller ones. Just make sure you know which version you chose. And we're going to give it a name. And I don't really care, and then another username, and then a password. Okay, and we're gonna call it, I'm gonna call this one test, and I'm just gonna take the generic sizing, and they have this little handy dandy thing right here that says power on this virtual machine after creation, and when you click finish, it's gonna start it up for you, and start doing the install, but we're not gonna do that right now. So I gotta turn it off. And yep, if we're lucky enough, it'll popped up right here. We're going to look at the virtual machine settings. The most important setting we're going to be playing with is this network adapter. Right now, or any virtual machine you spin up is going to be connected to the NAT. The NAT allows that VM to get outside to the internet via your internet. So it's connected to your internet via this NAT right here, which will come in handy because before you do anything, depending on what version of Linux you have, you're going to install a package called NetTools, because there are some tools I'm going to be using here that you may not have on your machine, depending on, again, which flavor of Linux you have. So you have to install the NetTools in order to do this. So for this one, I believe it's sudo apt-get for Ubuntu install net-tools. So whatever version of Linux you have, just type it in, then type in install NetTools, and if there's a particular key phrase you're supposed to use to do the install, it'll let you know. But just double check that, because not all versions of Linux are the same, and they don't all use apt-get. Once you have that installed, we're going to look at, like I said, the settings for our virtual machines real fast before we move on. Let's look at the router first. That's those settings. So we're on the router and the virtual machine settings are right here. So as you can see, we have two network adapters. So you could think of it like the front door and the back door of a house. That's your router. Information is going to come in one adapter and go out the other adapter to the other network. And you're going to add the adapters by clicking add network adapter, finish, and as you can see, it added a third adapter, but I'm going to remove that because I don't need it. And these adapters, after you've downloaded any packages you needed to download, we're going to connect them to the LAN segments. The LAN segments are easy to make as well. You just click add, click the segment name, and as you can see, I now have 3 LAN segments. Remove. But I only want 2 because I only have 2 subnets, right? So first network adapter, I connected to the first LAN segment 1. Second network adapter, I connected to the second LAN segment 2. So that's how I've done it on my machines. You can do it however you want to do it. Just know which one went to which. Let's look at the virtual machine settings, at least on PC1. So again, I have my network adapter. I only have one because I only need one door to walk in and out of. And that's attached to network or segment 1. So machine 1, segment 1. Same thing over here. Machine 2, segment 2. Makes my life just a little bit easier doing that. So where are we? Set up our LANs, we spun up our VMs, we added our adapter, we installed our tools. Now these changes will not be permanent. The minute you turn off these VMs and shut them down and turn them back on again, it's going to revert back to its old settings. So that can be a positive thing, especially if you just want to keep making new VMs. You don't have to go back and delete everything and start all over again. But if you want to do it permanently, there are commands that you can use to do that. You can look them up. I can't remember them right now. So let's just move on. So we have our VMs spun up. I don't think there's anything else I need to tell you before we move on. No. Keep trying to keep notes so I know exactly what I'm talking about. And I don't forget things. Well, the first machine we're going to work on is our router. Now let's look at our whiteboard before we move on. So I have a very basic drawing of what the network is going to look like. Subnet 1 essentially is going to be in blue. Subnet 2 is going to be in green, and your router is orange. Now subnet 1 has the subnet 10.0, because I wrote everything out here, 10.0.01. Now, where did I get these from? Well, if you remember, there are private address ranges when you are doing your Network Plus for you to configure your own networks with, and these are the address ranges that you can use to create your own subnets. So I just picked the first one. There was no rhyme or reason to it. You could pick some other one. Anyone's really within these ranges, and you'll be fine. That's what they're there for. So it doesn't matter which one you pick, just pick one. But your subnet is going to end in 0. So as you can see, subnet 1 has 10.1.10, and the subnet mask is the /24. Now, if you can recall, check out down here, you can see that's what your subnet mask is. There's 255, 255, 255, right? So we have that. PC1 is on this subnet, and as a result, here it's its address 10.1.1.1/24. Same thing over here. Let's look at this. This is subnet 2, effectively 10.2.2.0. That's 24. That's the subnet. But the host or the PC's IP address is going to be 10.2.2.1/24. So that's our IP address for our PC. Now our router, because our router, like I said, 2 doors, 1 in, 1 out, basically going from one network to the other, from the front yard to the backyard, or however you want to look at it. Each of these is going to have its own address. Now this adapter is on this subnet, right? As you can see, I've highlighted in red. You can see 10.1.1, 10.1.1, 10.1.1. So these are on the same subnet. And because they're on the same subnet, they can effectively talk to each other a lot easier. And we're going to use this network adapter, this blue one, as a way out of this subnet to go over to this one, right? So this address is 1.1.2, okay? Same thing over here. This network interface is attached to this subnet and can communicate with this subnet. That's why they all have the same 3 numbers. And except this specific IP address for this interface is going to be .2, right? So the .0 talks about the whole subnet. And once we start moving into the 1s and 2s, and now we're talking about identifying specific devices on the net. So this is PC1, and this address is for the interface to the router. Now we're going to see that our routers network interfaces are going to have some names, ENS33 and ENS37. So just for simplicity's sake, since 33 comes first, I put it on the first subnet. Since 37 comes second, I put it on the second subnet. That's how we're going to set this up when we do the configuration on our router. Now before we do that, we have to change a file. This file is located in the root. So we're going to go computer, proc or process, system, network, IPv4, and we're going to look at this configuration file here. When you load this up, because I've already edited it and I haven't shut it down yet, you're going to see a 0 here. You're not going to see a 1. So let's open up our terminal. Let's print out the value of that IP forward file to the screen. Let's do proc sys net IPv4/IP_forward. So as you can see, the value of my file is 1. Your value is going to be 0. So in order to change that, I just clicked up the up arrow to get back to my last command I typed. We're going to type in gedit sudo. And we're going to use this command to open up the text editor. And the text editor is going to open up this IP forward file. And then we have to type in our password. And there it is. And all you're going to do is type 1. So it's going to be 0 initially, then you're going to type 1, and then you're going to click save. And then don't worry about all of those weird things. You're going to click the X, and even though it says close without saving, that's what you're going to do. And then again, if you run the cat, you should still, when you run cat proc you should get a 1. So that should tell you that your file has indeed saved in spite of all those errors that you got. So once you turn that 0 from off to on, that's basically telling the PC, now you get to act like a router. So if packets come in one interface, you get to move those packets onto the other interface. That's all we're telling it to do. So now that we've done that, we're going to configure the addresses for our interfaces. So as I said before, we're going to type in ipconfig. Sorry, that's for Windows, ifconfig. And we're going to look at our interfaces. Our interfaces are ENS33, that's the first one, and ENS37, that's our second interface. And we're going to give them a static IP address. So we're going to type in sudo IP address add, and we're going to add the address for ENS33 is 10.1.1.2, right? Because we are on the router, and that's the address I wanted. /24, that's our network mask for our device ENS33. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to push up on that arrow key. We're going to change 33 to 37. And we're going to change this to 2.2.2. Right, second net, second subnet. We're on a router, and we're going to type in a route to see if everything took. And yep. Yep, everything's there. 10.1.1 is attached to 33, and the 2s are attached to 37. Hooray! We have configured our router. Now we're going to move on to our clients, and we're going to configure the static address for the clients like we have according to our scheme right here. On top of that, we're going to configure the default gateway for the client and configure the route so that it can actually know where to go. All right. So let's do the static addresses first. We are going to start with PC1 because it's number 1. So I have config. Let's check it out. Again, we have no addresses associated with ENS33. That's the device we're going to attach the address to. So I'm going to hit sudo ip address add, and the address we want is 10. This is the first one, so 10.1.1.1/24, and the device is ENS33. And let's look at our route real fast. And we have a route set up, or we have an address set up telling us where to go. Actually, we don't know where to go yet. The gateway doesn't have anything associated with it, which we're going to change real soon. But I just wanted to show you this and to show you this other command. So if you look, we have the 10.1.1 and the link local. So that's the subnet that we have that we can talk to. And the link local address is the, what do they usually call it? The APIPA address, the 169.254. But if you ever see something like this and it's referenced by name, we check out the route, but you need the actual address, you can do ip route. And as you can see, the address for the link local is 196 or 169.254. Blah 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 blah, right? But we all know that by now. So we have added an address. Now we're going to configure the default gateway. So the configuration for the gateway is real simple. On the client, we're going to use the route command, not ip route, just route. We're going to add, and what we're going to add is a default gateway. And the default gateway's address is the address that we just added to the machine. So you want to get data out of PC1 so that it can travel across the network. You need a way for it to get out. And that's what the gateway is. The gateway is a way for the data to get in and out of the PC. And that's all we're going to do. We're going to say, hey, if you need to get out the door, this is the door you're going to use. So sudo route add default gateway and 10.1.1.1. No, yep, 1. Oops. And let's look at the route, see what we got. Okay, now we have a default gateway set up. If I do ip route, unfortunately the default gateway, it's just a gateway, it's just telling it where to go. So if you ever want to take that out of the routing table, you're going to have to just refer to it by its actual name, not its number or its IP address. So we set up the static address, we set up the default gateway for our client 1 PC. Now we're going to set up the route, and this is the command we're going to use. So it's going to go ip route, and we're going to add, and what we're going to add is the network I want to go to plus its network mask. So we're going to add the network I want to go to, and we're going to go to that network via the entrance to the router, or the router address. Remember, the router address for the first network ended in .1.2. The router for the second subnet ended in .2.2. So since we're on the first PC, we're going to go to the second subnet via this address here, which is on our router network adapter. Okay, it's a lot. So I'm going to do sudo, not sudo, ip route. I can never remember these things. Add. The network I want to go to is 10.2.2.0/24, right? The network we want to go to via, and we want to go via our router's network adapter address, and that is 10.1.1.2. Let's look at our route table. Now look at that. So our destination we're going to go to is the second subnet, and the way we're going to get there is through our router's interface address. Okay, that's done. I think we hit everything we needed to do. Cool. Now we just got to go into client 2 and do the same thing. So we're going to do sudo, we're going to add, or ip address add, and then our address is going to be 10.2 because we're on the second subnet, .2.1/24, and the device we're going to add it to is also going to be ENS33. So let's look at ifconfig, and as you can see, we set it up. ENS33 has that. Now we're going to add a default gateway. So we're going to use the route command, not the ip route command, just the route. What was it? Add default gateway. And then we got to use our static IP that we just set up, right? Make sure I got that right. Yep. Wait, what? Sudo route add. Why is you not working? Hold up, something's wrong. So apparently, even though I added the address, something must not have taken because it's not showing up here. I have no idea what the heck just happened. So I'm just going to run that again. I'm going to do sudo. And let me make sure I got it right this time. Ip address add. Ip address add. And then we're going to do 2.1/24, and the device we're going to add it to is ENS33. Okay. Okay. Just making sure. So it says inet 10.2.2.1 net mask. Okay. Now we're going to do it again. We're going to do sudo route add default gateway, and the gateway we're going to is 10.2.2.1. Okay, let's look at our route. All right, everything seems to be working so far. Okay, so we added our default gateway. Awesome. Where are we going to next? We're going to the ip route add network you want to go to via the entrance on your router. So sudo ip route add what was it, network I want to go to, 10.1.1.0/24 via 10.2.2.2. Let's look it up. Okay, so we got it set up. A route to the first subnet from our second computer via our second or via the interface on the router we have attached. All right. Anything else I need to do that I can't remember? Should be good. Should be good. Okay. So let's try the ping. Let's ping the host on, since we're in network 2, let's ping the host, which is on network 1. So 10.1.1.1. And everything is moving. Click, 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 click. Awesome. Now let's go to Ubuntu 1 and see if we can ping the host on 2, which is 10.2.2.1. So remember, that's what we set up, 10.2.2.1. And everything is working. So everything's good. We have configured our PCs and our routers. We're able to get packets back and forth. Awesome. First part done. See you guys later. Oh yeah, what am I supposed to say? Hit the subscribe button, I guess, and the thumbs up button, because joy. Anyway, see you guys later.